Yes, a great college football game in Chapel Hill this past Saturday night. We came up short on the short of the stick, going double overtime versus the then ranked 17th team in the country. I thought our kids came out and competed very well, and I thought we improved on both sides of the football, offense, defense, and I thought Michael Hughes kicked the ball well. So tough game to lose, but we've moved on to East Carolina, and it's going to be a tough game for us here at the Rock on Saturday.
And Coach, we'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan? Dan, you're on mute. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Can you talk a little bit about your team's defense? I mean, you were playing a really, really good offensive team. They scored 27 in regulation on you. It looked like, especially, I thought Andrew Parker looked like he was everywhere.
Andrew Parker's really improved. This is his second year in the program. I thought he played an outstanding game. I forget how many tackles he had, but it was double-digit.
It was a dozen.
Yeah, double-digit tackles. And I thought we did a better job of tackling as a whole on defense. If you look from the first game to the second game, we were getting, 8 to 10 hats on the ball at a time. And I thought they put a lot of energy. And there was a couple of times we misfit the run game, which resulted in long touchdowns. But it was never a lack of effort. It was a lack of execution. And we were back yesterday to get that corrected. And again, I think we have a lot more room to improve on defense. A lot of new faces, learning Coach Sloan's scheme, and I think we'll get better as it goes on. But I think we have a lot of depth now in defense. I think we played 8 defensive linemen, and we played 7 different people in the secondary. So I like where we are right now, but still a lot of room for improvement.
Joey Aguilar and Deshaun Davis kind of developed a connection between each other a little bit.
They have, and I thought the one thing about Joey, he went through his reads on Saturday evening. It wasn't, some of those plays weren't designed really to go to Deshaun, but if the safety drops down, then the cross country route should be open. So I just thought Joey did a really good job reading his reads. And Deshaun Davis has really improved since he's been here. This is year 2 as a starter, and he's playing with a lot of speed right now. He's playing confident, and he thinks he's always open. But I think he's really improved as a route runner and is catching the football.
If I could ask one more, I'm sure this has probably been talked about a lot up your way. Just haven't heard down here. Has there been any talk about any other scheduling games down the line with UNC? I know you talk a lot about playing teams right there in the state.
I do. I hope we can continue that. I think it's great for these regional games that you go out and you look at. We travel, I think, roughly 4,000 people to Chapel Hill, and those tickets were sold out early, way in advance. And we played 3 times against North Carolina. They both came down to the very last drive, and all 3 games have been sold out. If we're talking about regional games and it's about fan experience, then why wouldn't you play these games? The economic impact that we've had on both Chapel Hill and in Boone, that's what college football is about. We're talking about fan experience and doing it for the fans. They'll go out and pay their hard-earned money to watch these kind of games. So I think it's worth it. I'm definitely in favor of it. I know we've scheduled Charlotte in the future. We've got NC State on the schedule. We've got Elon on the schedule. We hope to get Western Carolina on the schedule. Those are both bus trips. We're not getting planes. We're playing in front of sold-out stadiums. And I think that's one of the things the Sun Belt's done a great job with the East and West. Our fan base can drive to every single game we play on the East side.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go over to Shawn.
Coach, I know Nate's been a key contributor for you for a long time, but back-to-back games, career high rushing attempts. Can you speak about what he means to your offense this year?
He means everything to us, and I have to give Nate a lot of credit. He's gained, I think, 13 pounds in the offseason. He's more durable. He's stronger. He's faster, and that goes into all the hard work he's done, himself in the offseason. But he's a very important piece of our offense. It's one of those great situations. We have a deep running back room, and we have to get more running backs involved. But he can carry the mail, and we're going to keep feeding it to him as long as he keeps averaging 5 yards a carry.
Have you had a chance to review Marshall's win at East Carolina, and what were your takeaways from East Carolina's performance?
Yeah, we watched it yesterday afternoon, late last night, and East Carolina has a heck of a football team. Coach Houston, everywhere he's been, he's won. And they're 0-2 right now, but you have to look at they played Michigan, and Michigan is one of the top teams in the country, and they played a very good Marshall team. And that game was close to the fourth quarter, and we know what East Carolina's about. Again, they're an in-state school. We have a lot of respect for them, and again, we're going to have one of the largest crowds ever in the history of App State coming to Boone this Saturday. And that's another example of why you should play in-state games.
Sure. Great win for the program last night. Or 2 nights ago. Seems like last night. Our guys played hard. It was a good football game, good team. Came out healthy, feel really good about where we're at and our progress. We improved in a lot of areas, and looking forward to continuing that trend as we get ready for Duquesne this week.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go over to Dan McDonald. Dan?
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Jacksonville State does a lot of different things offensively. How do you assess the way your defense was able to adjust to some of the things that they do?
They had great tempo, and I thought both quarterbacks played really well for Jacksonville State. Rich Rod does a great job. He's got a great system. They know how to work you and attack you. I thought we struggled at times with the tempo, but settled in. And when we had to, we kept them out of the end zone. I think we talked a little bit about this last week too. I believe in the way college football is being played right now, teams are going to always move the football. It's not about yards and that. It's about keeping them out of the end zone. And we did for about 3.5 quarters doing that and making them kick field goals. So I was proud of our guys bowing up when we needed to.
Can you talk a little bit about Grayson's performance?
Yeah, I thought Grayson played much better, much more poised in the pocket, going through his progressions, his reads, got good depth in the pocket and saw things well and made really good decisions with the football.
If I could ask, how special was it for you on Saturday?
Oh, it was great. Having an opportunity, first of all, to play in front of our crowd. We had a big crowd and boisterous, and it was a lot of fun to get home, be at home. And obviously getting the first win, it's more of a relief than anything, to be honest with you. And everybody keeps talking about all these firsts, and everything that we do is a first, but looking forward to just continuing. It's been a while that Coastal, we had dropped 4 in a row. So it was really good to get out of that and be able to sing the victory song.
If I could ask one more, what's your assessment of through the first 2 weeks of how the Sun Belt teams have fared?
It's awesome. I mean, it's going to be a great league, great race, great coaches. I mean, everybody's playing everybody. We're either beating them or playing them really tough. And it's like I said at the media day, like I had been in those other programs and knew that when you had a Sun Belt Conference team on your schedule, you better be ready. You kind of were like, God dang, why did we schedule those guys? So really proud to be in the conference. And, I think the coaches everywhere have done a great job, and continue to wish them luck.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go over to Shawn.
Coach, can you speak about Jared Brown and what he means to your team? He came up big for you in your last game.
Yeah, Jared had a great game and really has been playing well, but it was good to see him create some big plays. That was one of the things we needed to get in our offense. We had 3 9-play drives and a 14-play drive, I think, against UCLA, or 16-play drive. So, our emphasis was try to create some big plays, some easy scores, and Jared was able to do that. And he's such a great young man and tremendous football player. Love watching that big old smile on his face and when he goes out there and performs, and had a really big game for us.
Saturday is your extra yard for teachers games. I was wondering if you could reflect on the influence that teachers or educators have played in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I am who I am. Everything that I've done, from the time I grew up, I love football in the area I was, from my coach and the teachers that were involved at the high school, Cardinal Mooney High School in Youngstown, and which kind of set the seed or planted the seed for me to be a teacher. When I first got out of college, I was a high school coach and a high school teacher, and just grew from there because of that and the influence that people have on your life. I saw it. I'm at UCLA and 6 of my former players that played for me at Sorrel High School when I was head high school coach out there flew out to the game to come see it. So you can see that you have an influence and a direct impact on their lives as a coach. And I take that very seriously and with a lot of pride.
Yeah, great win on Saturday. Learned a lot about our team, their competitiveness, their fight, their resiliency to come back from 11-point deficit in the fourth quarter and get a real big in-state win. Got a lot to clean up. Really didn't play our A game. Pass defense was awful. Got to tighten that up. Perimeter tackling was not good. But there were mistakes in other areas too. But we'll meet with the players tonight. We got to review the corrections and we've got to get better. We got a lot of areas we got to keep improving as a football team this week. And I am proud of the way we bounced back, and it was a great win. But we got the conference champion from last season on the road. Be a very difficult challenge. And we cannot have a repeat of kind of the Georgia Southern week last year when we were 5-0, top 25, and there was a lot of hoopla here. And we really played very poorly down there on the road. So every week's a new week and brings a different challenge. And Troy's an excellent football team.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Shane. Shane, please go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was wondering if you could give any updates on Jalen Walker or Jacob Thomas or anybody else who left the game early this week.
Yeah, those guys are day to day, and most of those guys we feel pretty good about. We'll know more as the week goes on.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Jackson.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned how you're kind of hoping that this next week isn't a repeat of the Georgia Southern week from last year. Just kind of looking at last year, your first year in the FBS compared to this year, there's a lot of parallels. You had a comeback win against a big name opponent, and now you're undefeated. Did you learn a lot of lessons from last year that you're kind of hoping to apply to the rest of this season?
Well, this week cannot be a repeat of the Georgia Southern week, and we control that, and we have to take control of the things that are within our control. So I'm confident it will not be. I think you always learn from the past, from success and failure, and use them to improve and get better.
Go over to Joseph.
Hey, Coach. I was curious if you've had a chance to watch Troy's film of the K-State game from this past week, and if so, what were your takeaways from that?
No, I thought they played really hard. They were in that game, made it a 14-10 game. I think that touchdown at the end of the half probably shifted the momentum. Well, I know it did. Way back to Kansas State, scored with about 10 seconds to go in the half, and had him pinned down, had him 2nd and 18 back, quarterback run, and made a few plays. Kansas State played well. They played well. And, Troy just couldn't get the momentum back in the second half, but they flew around. They're impressive. They got a lot of good players in all 3 phases of the game.
And I know you obviously focused on the practical side of things, how your team can get better, but have you had a moment to, reflect on the fact that you guys beat a team that you hadn't beaten or played for that matter in 40 years on Saturday?
Well, I know for our fan base, our institution, people that love JMU, that was a really big football game. And I'm just proud of the way our players hung in there and found a way to get it done. And but in the business I'm in, you don't get to enjoy it very long. I'm back in the office 7:00 on Sunday, watching the game tape, watching Troy. So you sort of have to commit to the process for 12 weeks, and you become a little bit machine-like doing that.
Thanks, Coach.
Go over to Dan.
Morning, Coach. Just wanted to ask, what does it say about your football team? Your guys jumped out early, looked like they were cruising early. UVA came back hard, and then your guys were able to sort of take control late in the ball game. What does that say about your team?
Well, I think it tells you a lot about the resiliency, which is being able to overcome the unexpected. And we went in there sort of with the mantra that, they couldn't throw anything at us that we couldn't overcome. But I think the lightning delay gave us an opportunity to regroup and make a couple adjustments and kind of get inside their heads a little bit and make sure everybody was thinking right. And we came out with a renewed energy after the break. It was great too. All of our fans stayed. A lot of their fans did not. And when we came and entered the field, our fans were loud, and I think that pumped our guys up too. And we made the key plays when they had to be made.
If I could ask this, I know this is probably, y'all know this up there, we're just not sure down in this part of the country. Are there more games scheduled as far as your guys playing against in-state rivalries coming up, such as this? Or nearby rivals like
we
this?
We have UNC next year. We had Virginia Tech scheduled, and that got swapped out. So they're 2 or 3 years down the road. Maryland's on a future schedule also.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll go over to Sam.
Hey, Coach. Second A5 win for the Sun Belt this year. 17th over the past 8 seasons, but 12 of the 14 teams contributing to that total. What do you think that says about the league as a whole, and then obviously JMU getting yours to kind of add to that tally this past weekend?
I think everybody recognizes it's a very strong league from top to bottom, and you got to be ready to play every week. And it's a great win Texas State had against Baylor, and there were a number of great wins early last season too. So, it's good football, and the separation is not as large as probably the ordinary fan might think it is.
Yeah, disappointing loss. Obviously played a really talented football team in UTSA. We played well at times, and then at other times just didn't execute well enough to win. So got to get back to work, and that's what we're going to do. And just excited to have a home opener, which is really, really exciting. Get in front of our fans after being on the road for 2 weeks, getting to play a talented Jackson State team. Our guys are going to be ready and prepared, and just really excited to get in front of our fans more than anything. Questions?
Hey, Coach, I'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan?
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
I know the way that your offense works. I know touchdowns are better than field goals. Having to settle for the field goals on both of those times. When a touchdown would have really been significant both those times. Was that a little bit of a disappointment?
Yeah, it was big time disappointment. I think that's really, after looking, I've watched it like 3 or 4 times and just kind of going back and analyzing. It's like when we had a guy open, something happened. The quarterback either made the wrong read, or the protection didn't hold up, or when protection held up, quarterback made the right play, the receiver dropped it. So it was just kind of one of those games that we were just a little off. We couldn't get the run game going. But yeah, we got to score touchdowns when we get down there. I think if we score that last one, obviously Cole's one of our best receivers and someone I really, trust and all that. And he, one of those deals, he's wide open and falls down at the 5, and then we end up scoring. So it's one of those deals where, 1 or 2 plays here and there can really change the game, especially when you're playing someone of that caliber and a good team and all that kind of stuff. So it just wasn't our night for whatever reason. But second game, people keep saying, we're coming off a big win, all that. I don't know if that had much to do with it, more than just, we just didn't execute well enough.
Do you think the average fan realizes that UTSA is probably real close to being just the same high quality team that Baylor was?
Yeah, they're better, to be honest with you. But it's just one of those deals where, G5, whatever, I guess, they've been doing it for a long time. Trailer's been, doing it for a while, really good team. And I think that was, I think it's great for us and our fan base. We went into that game expecting to win. Our players, our fans, which is awesome. That's what you want at Texas State. That's what, we're building at Texas State. So I think that part is awesome. We just gotta execute better. And that was really my goal and my I guess message, not my goal, my message all week to the guys is, and really coaches more than players, was, hey, we just have to execute. And in games like this, it's going to be loud, hostile environment. We got to execute, and we just didn't execute well enough. So we have to coach better.
You mentioned the running game. Was that just a matter of execution, or was that just something UTSA was trying to take away from you?
Yeah, I think it wasn't, going back and look at it, it wasn't just, a lot of times people talk about the O-line, because we were able to move Baylor so well up front week 1, and we got some movement week 2 as well. We just didn't make great decisions, quarterback wise. When they gave us the numbers, we didn't throw it out there. When he was out wide and we handed it off, the running backs got to find that hole. So it wasn't just the O-line. It was a combination of O-line, quarterback, running back, receivers blocking, all that kind of stuff.
If I could ask one more about how big will this first home game be, and how important will this game be for you personally?
Yeah, I think anytime you get in front of your home fans, that's awesome. They've been traveling and not that far. We went to Baylor and UTSA, which is awesome. We had a lot of fans at both games, and which was really cool to see. But I think there's something special about playing at home and home opener, new coaching staff, new regime. So I think our guys will be fired up and ready to go. And we're playing a really talented team and a really well coached team. So we got to come out and play. And I think our guys will be ready for that.
What about you personally? Will there be some a little bit extra juice?
Probably not. I think for me, just going out there and getting these guys to play well, that's just not really who I am.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go over to Shawn.
Coach, can you speak about Mason Shipley? Guy obviously hadn't had a lot of field goal opportunities to this point, but came up big for you on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought that he performed really well, and that was really good to see him go out there. And that's why I told him, the special teams before the game, just do your job. And when your number's called, let's go out there and make it happen. And he was able to do that. And two really big time kicks and crucial moments. So really happy for him. Really am excited for him. He's battled for that kicking job. He did. It went all the way to that first game, and he battled and performed when his number was called.
And what have you seen on film from Jackson State?
Yeah, they're better than I want them to be. I know that. They're talented, really well coached. I think offensively, they really probably present. I know with Coach Sanders leaving and all that. Obviously he's getting a lot of headlines right now, but I think what they do offensively is hard to stop, man. It really is. They're very similar to us. They're up tempo. They have a really good quarterback. They can run the ball really well. They put you in unique formations. So we're definitely going to have our hands full. And then on defense, they're really talented. Got talented corners. Their defensive front will get after you. They do what they do, and there's something to be said for that they're able to go out there and, like I talked about, execute at a high level.
Boy, it sure is nice to come in 2-0. We hadn't been that way at ULM for a while, and so many of us were disappointed that we didn't have a bigger win versus Lamar, or we didn't beat them by a bigger margin. I've been through too many seasons for that. I like to think that Lamar played a very good game. They really outplayed us in the second half, and made it a tight ball game, 24-14. But I knew Pete their head coach would do a good job there. But we came through and won a game, and we're 2-0, and we've got ourselves where we want to be, and that's at 2-0. That's what we want to do. Aiden Huntington, our defensive tackle, was, he made 14 tackles. I haven't had a defensive tackle ever get 14 tackles. And we did a great job for us. I thought our specialty teams blocked a punt for a touchdown. That kind of got the ball rolling as we got up 28-0 at halftime. And I probably made the dumbest speech of my life, saying, one more score, we'll get some people in the game. And then we're trying to get one more score just to win the game in the fourth quarter. But that just goes to show you can't take anything for granted. I think most of us coaches in the country are watching games go by so fast because of this new rule where the clock keeps running. And I guess that's good for college football. All I know, having spent 10 years in television, is that we're getting the same amount of time for the audience. They just watch a heck of a lot more commercials and a lot less football. So but you really see it as a football coach after 30 years as a head coach and watching how fast a game goes by because the clock doesn't stop. It is a different football game. As you see so many scores at halftime around the country, and you can't believe how close they are when the teams seem so mismatched. But it was a good win for us. Any win that we're in the last 2 years, we're 9-4 at home, and we've got a good crowd coming, and we're getting some home atmosphere, and that's important to us. Now we go into the one of the greatest home atmospheres of all. We go to Texas A&M, and an incredible atmosphere there as far as any games you could play anywhere in the country. And so it's a huge test for us. But, when you come to ULM, you don't tell our players to disappoint them that they're going to play 2 Power 5 schools. We tell them because it's exciting to go in these type of venues and play. And so our players will get excited this week and practice hard because it is a great opportunity to go into one of the great venues, although we will be heavy underdogs going to one of the great venues in college football at College Station to play.
Hey, Coach, we'll start off with Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I was going to ask you about that, what you had just made reference to about the games being shortened. Both you and Lamar, I think both teams ran 62 offensive plays.
Right.
And you ran it like 40 times and got almost 300 yards. Do you like the rule? Is it
No, I don't.
Is it doing what it's supposed to do?
Well, it's what they want to do is speed the game up. I've been television for 10 years. I mean, they want a 3.5 hour window to fill a game and get to the next one. That gives you pregame and postgame on TV and gets you from one game to the other. Now, what they've done is say, okay, they don't want to go faster. They want to just have more commercials. So by starting keeping the clock running and still they still want you to have about 3 hours and 15 minutes. But what happens is the game goes faster so that they can get all their commercials in. And it's it's all about the money. I understand that, but what we're doing, we're offering people less football and for more money because you're paying for it. And so no, I like it. Will I get used to it? Gosh, this is my 40th year as a head coach. I've seen about everything, but I'm not. I'm for some things I don't like. I don't like portal transfers that much, but we're not going to change it, and we're not going to change this. But we know why they did it, and I just think it's very interesting that you see so many teams out there, and at halftime you see these scores that are unbelievable. This team here is, I think I saw where Austin Peay was 6-3 at halftime with Tennessee. One of the top teams in the SEC. And you go back and you figure out there's only so many times you're on the field. If you fumble once or something, it just goes fast. But again, it is what it is. It's interesting discussion, but it's going to be equal for both teams.
Even with the short game, you still ran it for about 300 yards, averaged about 5 yards a carry. You have to like where your running game is right now.
Well, I do. We've been over 200 yards both games, and we said that was one of the things we wanted to be able to do is to run the football better. And we had a new quarterback starting his very first college game, and so we didn't throw it as we wanted that to happen, and we felt like we would be a little stronger up front, and we were. And so that was a positive aspect of it. When you start playing through your conference schedule, you've got to be able to run and pass the football a little more than we felt like we had to do in this game. And so we run the ball well, and we've got to continue to throw the ball and get better at throwing the football. But that's the ball. If you can play defense and run the ball well, we didn't play well on defense this past week compared to the week before, and second half especially because we were up 21-0 at halftime, and you're wanting to kind of to get the next score and defense hold them. But not only did we not score right off the bat, but then the defense couldn't get off the field, and that wasn't the offense's fault. That was just we're not able to shut them down and make them punt.
If I could ask one more, you mentioned Aiden Huntington. but it looked like James Smith was all over the field for you.
Oh, now James Smith was our MVP. I'm glad you mentioned that, because he was our defensive MVP. He had 3 or 4 tackles for loss. He had a couple of sacks. You know, he really first got a chance to get in there and play, and we've always felt he had great potential. He's real long, not as big as we think he's going to be down the road, but he's got great length and got athletic skills. And it was nice to see him make plays like that, because you need those guys that can run and make plays and not just hold the ground. You know, when you get a defensive lineman that just holds the ground, that's okay. But when you get a guy can run and chase the ball and make big plays, that makes you a much better team.
Yeah, appreciate y'all covering Sunbelt football in our program. Tough week for us last week. Didn't play clean enough to have a chance to win at Kansas State. Got down 14-0 early, fought back in the second quarter, made it 14-10. They got the ball back with 50 seconds before half, and we gave up a touchdown, made it 21-10, kind of got in a tight spot there that put us behind. And then came out of the second half, played good defense. It was a field position game. We punted 3 times, they punted twice. They got the ball in their third possession. We had a helmet come off, kind of a deal that was tough. Our kid kept playing when you got to stop playing. Helmet came off, I thought, because of a hands to the face that didn't get called, but things sometimes happen that way. And our guys sort of just we couldn't finish the game the right way. But really quality opponent last week, another one this week. JMU, you know, you look at who they are. We've got 9 straight winning seasons. All right. Really impressive of what they've done as a program over the last 10 years or so, or further than that. But the 10 straight winning records is pretty impressive. And then Coach Cignetti's been there since 2019. They're 43-8. That's pretty good. All right. So we're in for a really tough football game, a well-coached team. Have a lot of respect for them. Be a good venue here at home. Good crowd. Night game. Excited about the opportunity. Our guys got to bounce back. So with that, open up to questions.
We'll start off with Joseph. Joseph, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. At the end of last weekend's game, you said your team was too soft at the line of scrimmage. Curious, what's the process for correcting that in practice this week?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to still practice physical on Tuesday and Wednesday like we always do. Some of it had something to do with the opponent. They were pretty good. They had really great length. And I really felt like it was more on the offensive side of the ball that we didn't finish things and didn't strain to finish on certain plays. I thought defensively at times we held up okay at the line of scrimmage. Not great, but we're serviceable. And hats off to Kansas State. They're a good football team, but we got to improve there a lot if we want to do big things. So our line of scrimmage play has got to get better.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. We'll go over to Jackson. Jackson, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned JMU, their winning program, they've been quality for a long time, but have you had a chance to kind of watch any of, this year's squad and kind of get a feel for what this year's team is going to look like?
Yeah, JMU this year, man, the quarterback can extend plays and make plays with his feet. They got a couple of running backs they played significantly so far that run physical. Their offensive line sticks out. They're very, very veteran and experienced. I'm very impressed with how their O-line plays the game. Their tight end's a good player, I think. Receiver, they got good depth. Really impressed with the Surratt guy that transferred in. He's made a couple nice plays this year. And then defensively, their inside linebackers stick out. Wearing 0 and 5 right now. 99 up front is a really active, good player. They're just sound. I mean, I almost feel like, we played K-State last week, and I look at the tape, and I'm like, man, I feel like we're playing a very similarly styled team than we did last week. And so it's a challenge, man.
Thank you.
Over to Craig. Craig, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Last year you guys only gave up 30 points in the one game, which was the App State game. Last second Hail Mary and so forth. Both games this year, you guys have done that. Just what defensively is different, other than I know some talented players left you?
Yeah, lost some good players. 2 weeks ago, game 1, Craig, we played Stephen F. Austin, and they scored on a turnover. Their offense gave them. They also scored against our basically all true freshmen twice. So that would account for like 17 of those points probably. So I felt like our ones in the game 1 gave up 13 points not 30 so much as I looked back at it. And then last week, it was kind of the floodgates open late in the game. You know, we're sitting there 14-10 with 50 seconds left before half. They hit a big play on a 3-up vertical towards our sideline to score to make it 21-10. And then the third quarter back and forth, we were in a contested game, and then just had sort of a backbreaker on that helmet come off. And next thing you know, they're up 28-10, and then sort of the floodgates open. They scored a couple more times after that. And then we did roll some younger guys into the game late when it was out of hand. But yeah, we've got to tighten up defensively, not to the standard we want to play at so far this year.
Yeah, you know, I mean, so it's certainly not where you want to start out in conference play at 0-1. You know, we went up and played Old Dominion, and they had a good plan for us, did some things that caused problems. And, you know, we had a chance to win the game late in the game. You know, if we could have finished off that long drive at the end, you know, you're going for 2, you're playing for overtime, and you got a chance to win. But, you know, I mean, I truly believe, especially early in the year, you know, losses or only truly losses whenever you don't learn from them and grow from them. So how we respond is what's going to be the big thing this week. You know, a lot of things that we got to take as a team and as a staff from that game, and we got to improve. And, you know, just in general, just your overall process is the way you do everything, because, you know, when you lose a 1-possession game, you know, it comes down to a handful of plays make the difference. So, you know, we've certainly got to continue working, and we will.
Thank you. We'll start off with Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. ODU was able to hit a couple over the top. Was that something that that they had done going in, or was that something that they just kind of caught you a little bit with, or was it something that they just did that maybe caught you off guard?
No, I mean, they did it against Virginia Tech, and I had some questions about the pass game from Virginia Tech compared to ours. They got behind Tech a couple of times too. The quarterback just missed. I would say probably on 3 or 4 of them where he had guys open, and they couldn't connect. Unfortunately for us, they connected, you know, Saturday. But, you know, a lot of it has to do with the speed at which they do it with. You know, that they get you where your cleats aren't screwed in the ground. You got bad leverage, and next thing you know, I mean, they have really good speed on the outside. I mean, those guys can really run. So if you're not screwed in and you're not playing proper technique, or your eyes are in the backfield, I mean, they get on you quick and they can make you pay. And the quarterback did a really nice job against us, man. He hit them. I thought he ran the offense really well. And, you know, kind of, you got to tip your hat sometimes. I thought they had a good plan against us. You know, certainly there's things that we should have done better and executed better, but you know, some of that, you know, it wasn't like it was a shock. You know, we knew they were going to run verts out of that.
You had a lot of success offensively, being through for a high percentage, and you were able to run it for about 175 yards. Can you talk a bit about how your offense played?
Well, we knew going into the game we were going to have to be efficient offensively to have a chance to win. With the tempo they played with and the stress they put on you defensively, we knew we were going to have to. And, you know, for the most part, we were pretty efficient. You know, we ran 76 plays to their 54, you know, which is something that I knew was going to be important. We couldn't leave our defense on the field and keep them out there with that tempo. So, you know, I mean, in the scheme of things, you know, if you end up winning the game, you feel really, really pleased with the way the offense have played. You know, when you come up a little bit short, you know, you're always looking at the things. You know, we didn't capitalize a couple times when defense did make a stop. You know, in the first half, they got a 4th down stop, and we didn't get points off of it. Second half, they get a 3 and out. We don't get points off of it. So, you know, there's a couple of things in there that you wish you'd have done a little bit better offensively. You know, but it's look, I mean, you know, whenever you come out on the wrong side of the score, you never feel really good about any of it. But we're improving offensively, and we need to. And we got to keep playing good on offense for us to, you know, continue to get better and end up where we want to be.
Have you had a chance to look much at UAB? They gave up a lot of points.
Yeah, you know, we have. You know, Georgia Southern's pretty good on offense too. You know, they throw it around pretty good. They ran the ball well too, you know, so I think UAB's front is really good. You know, I think they've got 4 good D linemen on that front. You know, what kind of happened against Georgia Southern is some momentum plays. First play of the game, UAB fumbles in the red zone. Georgia Southern gets it, scores right away. They get the ball again on the next possession on the 50-yard line. They score again. They were down 14-0, you know, before you could even blink. And a lot of their big plays came from space. You know, Georgia Southern was able to get guys in space and make 1 or 2 miss and turn into a big play. So, you know, I mean, it's a little bit different style than we play, but, you know, again, we need to play well on offense.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep.
Got time for one more. Shawn, please go ahead.
Coach, Jordan Lawson is a guy that ranks third in the nation in terms of sacks. He obviously missed the last part of the season last year due to injury. What did you see from him in the offseason, and what does he mean to your defense this year?
What I've seen from Jordan, you know, more than the physical is just the mental, like the maturity that he's developed over the course of the last year. And, you know, last year going into fall, you know, in fall camp, I didn't know he would have the progress. I didn't know he'd have the impact on our team that he did even last year. You know, he was still a redshirt freshman, and he was still figuring out and still kind of growing and maturing. And he came so far during the season, man. I mean, the guy just grew up and kept growing and kept learning and kept maturing. And throughout the off season, you know, whenever he was injured, that's when I really saw him take a step forward. You know, he took his rehab very seriously. He took his nutrition more seriously. The installs, I mean, the guy was locked in every day. We had some new players in spring. He was coaching the new players in spring. He was on the field out there coaching, talking to them, making the calls from the other side of the ball. You know, and then it allows him to get out there when he does come back and play really fast because he didn't waste time. You know, every rep that he couldn't take he took a mental rep and he made them count. So, you know, Jordan's a big part of it for us, really athletic on the edge. His toughness is something that this year, you know, he's playing tougher. He's doing hard jobs better than he did last year, and he's getting rewarded with sacks too. So, you know, extremely proud of Jordan. He's a huge part of our team and our defense. And, you know, he's the type of guys that make you proud, man. They come in here and they have a lot to learn, a lot to grow, and a lot to develop. And, you know, when they start to do that, it just makes you proud of them.
We didn't play so well early. We had some costly penalties with some of our young guys in a great environment. But, man, credit to Florida State, man. I mean, they're unbelievable. It was a mismatch in every way, and we're glad to get through it. We're excited about getting back into our domain. We got a big game this week versus Tulane. Great football team. They've won 10 of their last 12. You know, they beat a really good South Alabama football team in week 1, and they had Ole Miss beat this past week with their backup quarterback. Really well-coached football team that represented the group of 5, you know, in the big bowl games last year. So, you know, tremendous challenge for us. I think we got a good football team. I really do. You know, I think we were, you know, outmatched this past week, but there's a lot of people that are going to be outmatched versus those guys. So getting back home and getting back in our group of 5 element, we're excited about and looking forward to this week.
Thank you. We'll start off with Hunter Dawkins. Hunter?
Coach, good morning. Other than the personnel changes from Tulane and the quarterback potential injury, is there anything that you've noticed different from them on the film this year versus when you guys played them last year?
Well, they got a new defensive coordinator, you know, and I got a lot of respect for him. He came from Troy this past year. They still major out of 3-man front like they did last year. But Willie Fritz's handprints are all over that program. I mean, they're going to find a way to run the ball. They're going to be efficient in the passing game. They're going to play hard in the kicking game. And they're going to play really sound defense. They're going to leverage the ball and tackle. Very simple template to building a program that we have, you know, and they play for each other. They play hard, and I got a lot of respect for them.
Go over to Sam. Sam, please go ahead.
Hey, well, wanted to just ask about, you know, the preparation in this week. How much are you utilizing just the Florida State game in the film room? Are you showing it to guys a lot, you know, as kind of a teaching point, or is it kind of the opposite where you're maybe kind of like, let's just flush it, move on, and focus on Tulane?
No, exact same as we always do. We come in on Monday, we watch the previous game. We want to learn and grow from any mistakes. We want to reward any good play. You know, there was some good in that game. I thought our young DBs, man, really showed they can play. I thought we hit. I thought we played hard. And then we got to correct some mistakes and move forward. So the same as any week, whether you win or lose, you're going to assess it very objectively, the good and the bad. You want to learn from the bad. You want to accentuate the good and hopefully keep that going.
Thank you. We'll go over to Jerry Smith. Jerry?
Hey, Will, how are you doing? You recruited Billy Wiles to your boat. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah. I was laughing because I don't think it's Jerry. I'm pretty sure it's Gary.
No, it's Gary. That's you recruited Billy Wiles to Tulane. He was a commit. Now he's starting for you. Obviously, he struggled against FSU as almost everybody will. But where do you see him in his development, and what do you like best about him?
We're excited about Billy, Gary. You know, we really are. Feel good about his game one. He played great. Thought he played like a tough guy versus Florida State in really adverse situations. You know, where we thought, he stood in the pocket. He never vacated the pocket versus the best defensive front he'll ever go against. We battled up front and blocked him for as long as we could and really laid it on the line. But he never just ran out of the pocket like a lot of young quarterbacks do. He stayed in there. He had great pocket movement. And we think it's a game he can build off of and learn from, in really hard situation to play quarterback.
Games like against FSU, sometimes those have a lingering effect on a team just physically and mentally. How do you make sure that your guys just flush it and are ready for Tulane this week?
Well, we talk about it. We had a 6-hour bus ride to get home to think about it and flush it. We watched it this morning and flushed it, and hopefully we're moving on. I hope it doesn't have a lingering effect. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun to go through, but we got our check, and we'll move forward.
Thanks.
Sorry about that, Gary. And we'll go over to Garrett.
Hey, Coach. Frank didn't get a lot of snaps in the second half. Was that just more of saving his legs for the upcoming game?
Yes. The game was over, and a lot of guys didn't get as many snaps in the second half.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I've got time for one more. Go over to Heath and Heath.
Hey, Coach, can you talk about the importance of this game? Last year it was kind of like I don't want to say a dam-breaking moment for you, but it really got over the hill beating Tulane. This game being the rivalry it is, Battle for the Bell. Can you just speak about the importance for this game for both schools, really?
Yeah, huge game. 33 games have been played. We're 24-9. They had won the last two before we won the last one. We don't play again until 26. So whoever wins this game is going to have this bell for a while. And it means a lot to so many people in our fan base. And so we want to represent our fans and our former great players the right way by winning it. And so it means a whole lot to our program and a whole lot to theirs. It's a great rivalry game. I think Willie would tell you, and I would say from a conference standpoint, you've got to move on whether you win this game or you lose it, because you get into conference play the next week. And that's what matters the most. But this game means so much to so many people, and it certainly matters to us.
Sure. Good afternoon. It's Victory Monday here in Atlanta after a nice win against UConn this past Saturday evening. Thought from an overall team aspect, our offense, our defense, and our special teams really kind of complemented one another. Our kids played hard. Our coaches worked hard all week to prepare our team to go out there and play a pretty good game. And for the most part, we did. We offensively, we probably didn't get in rhythm early on and had to find some creases, and then we did. But I thought defensively they came out and was really stout for the most part. I think going into the fourth quarter, they had, I think it was somewhere around 276 yards or something like that, and 0 points, and just gave us an opportunity to kind of extend a lead and get comfortable. But so many phases stepped up. I mean, our special teams created a turnover. We caused another turnover. Our punting was, I thought we did a nice job in our punting game. Our return game was, we really had one kickoff return and then one other punt return. But for the most part, we did quite well in that area. So we were pleased, and we watched that film. We practiced this morning. We moved on, and we've got Charlotte coming up, our first road contest.
Thank you. We'll start off with Stan. Stan, please go ahead.
Hey, Shawn.
Hey, Stan.
2-0, great start. What's been the most pleasant surprise so far in these first two wins?
I don't think there's been any surprises. It was kind of exactly how we had our offseason. It kept building and building, and we kept improving through the course of the summer. Our camp was a really good camp. Our team is in really good spirits. I think everyone on our team complements one another in what they do and how they do it. We pull from one another, and right now we're all pulling in the right direction. So I haven't seen a lot of surprises because I saw it building up throughout the course of the offseason.
And is there any special thing with Charlotte this week, since they're kind of the one that after last year kind of sent everything kind of going screwy?
Well, I don't know if they sent everything going kind of screwy. I mean, we were 0-2 at this point a year ago, and they just made us 0-3. Anytime you lose, it's a disappointing loss. So no, it's a contest against another team, and there's nothing special about it. I told our team, I said, you got to be wary of the threats, and Charlotte's our threat this week. And we got to make sure we go out and prepare just like we did in practice today, and ramp it up tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and be ready to go out there on Saturday. So we got to keep building. But no, it's I don't want to use the term it's just another game, but it's just the next opponent.
Thanks.
Go to Brady. Brady, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Brady.
First, I wanted to ask, defensively, there's been maybe a little uptick of just substitutions throughout the game. Is that something philosophically Coach Staggs brought in, and what impact do you think it's had on the defense?
Well, we got different packages for different personnel groupings and different down and distances. So yes, I think we've done that a little bit more than we've done that in the past. And I think this past Saturday, it paid off for us. We were short buck that first game. So he's instrumental in some of these packages that we have. And he was back this week and made it a little bit more easier in our transitions and getting him in the right spots. But it was all about, especially defensively this week, it was all about minimizing the critical assignment errors and just playing with really clean eyes.
And then what do you see from the Charlotte team you're going to face on Saturday?
Oh, what I see from them? Well, I think they've got an explosive quarterback. Their quarterback is dynamic in the run game. He's got a real strong arm. He can do a lot of different stuff. They like the power game offensively. Whether it's power read with the quarterback or just run the one back power, the two back power, they've got some skill. I think their offensive line has improved. I think they've done a nice job defensively. They got some playmakers there as well. I think it's a complete overhaul of the roster. To be honest with you, there's not many of those guys that probably played against us a year ago. So we're going to have to see firsthand next Saturday night exactly what we're facing. Yes, you can watch them on film, but until you go out there and face them in person, you really won't know exactly what you're going to have to defend or attack, because really there were two different systems for the most part, from the South Carolina State game offensively to the Maryland game. They got their quarterback running a little bit more in that Maryland game.
Over to Shawn. Shawn, please go ahead.
Coach, I know Marcus Carroll was a guy you were counting on to be big for you this year, but he's certainly delivered top 3 in the nation in yardage. Can you speak to his play so far this year? And then if there was anything you saw in his growth from last year to this year that's made him into the player he is right now?
No, Marcus is probably the hardest worker and one of the strongest leaders we have on our football team. He's done that ever since he's been here. It was just his time to step to the forefront and be the guy. And Marcus will tell you, he's only as good as those offensive linemen are blocking up front. It was tough sledding a little bit early in that game against UConn, and then we had to find our niches and our creases. And once we got that figured out, we were able to exploit some runs with him. But he's a big, strong, masterful running back. He's a pleaser. He wants to do everything he can for our football team. And, he's a great compliment to the backs that we've had in the past. It's almost like, hey, he's next, and we got another one after him. And but man, I'm proud of him. I just want him to keep running that football, keep that head down, keep focused, and not let any of this outside noise in. I said, people start patting you on the back, and you can't listen to that noise. You gotta understand they're going to be gone as soon as you doggone. You need to rush for 30 yards. So, but he understands that.
Sure. Well, when you go back and you look at the game, and I think the first thing you have to do is you have to take all the emotion out of it. And, we have a thing here called fact check. And so, it's the silent video. We have a thing called just press play, and it's not based off of opinions. It's not based off of emotion. It's based off of your football identity of what you put on video. So when you press play, what shows. And, when we just press play, when we watch the silent video, I do think we made a lot of strides. We did improve as a football team in a lot of certain areas. but we also have a lot of blinking lights as well that we have to get cleared up and cleaned up immediately. You know, the first thing I think is we pride ourselves in teaching and playing complementary football. We're not doing that right now. It's like we have three separate entities of offense, defense, and special teams. So I think the big thing we have to do is continue to focus on playing complementary football. You know, when you look at football, everything is about getting into a rhythm, getting into the flow of the game. I didn't think, particularly on offense, we had any flow. We didn't have any rhythm in the game. You know, we did a lot of good things. And then, you know, right now, we don't have a lot of discipline to execute overall with 11 for 11. When you go back again and you press play and you look at the video, we have 8 guys doing the right things. We have 9 guys doing the right things. And the 2 guys that, you know, 2 players that aren't doing it right, it's catastrophic. And so we have to work to be 11 for 11 on every single play. I think the other thing, when you look at it, it's no secret, the double positive is the biggest indicator of winning and losing, and that's turnovers and explosive plays. And anytime you turn the football over, we had 4 turnovers, particularly 3 in the first half. You're not even giving yourself an opportunity to be in the football game. So again, I did think we made improvements. We have to build upon that and move forward into Stony Brook and keep demanding playing to a standard of excellence every single day, not only on game day, but in practice, and keep demanding, and our players want to do that. And it's our job as coaches and myself to keep demanding and keep teaching them. But, you know, this football team wants to do well, and we just have to continue to show them the way and teach them how to win.
Thank you. We'll start off with Luke Madison. Luke, please go ahead.
Hey, Butch, 2 questions for you. First, do you know the status of JT Shrout? And you speak about the offense. What are some of the things you want to work on this week to try to get improvement in that area?
Sure. Well, in terms of JT's status, right now, I would probably list him as questionable. He will practice this week, but we'll see how that goes. So he'll be day-to-day and moving forward. In terms of offensive improvements, you know, first and foremost, it starts with the double positive. It starts with taking care of the football. We do a ball security circuit twice in practice. We coach it on every single down. But again, there's a lot of things, you know, on the catastrophic turnover in the red area. After we had momentum in the game, we had a bad run course. So that was fundamentally unsound, and then we just spit the ball out, and you can't be able to do that. You know, usually when you throw an interception, there's a story behind it. Usually you're either late over the middle or you're fooled by the coverage. We have our receiver, Corey Rucker, wide open on a double move. They're in single high, and JT has bad eyes, and he stares the safety down, and that's an all-conference football player, and he goes up, you know, in the deep part of the field and goes up and makes a great play, and it's an interception when it really should have been 7 points. I think the other takeaway, too, is we didn't take advantage of our early field position, and that put us behind. We could have very easily been up 14-0, 10-0, and we didn't take advantage of that. So again, it's trying to get some continuity, some rhythm to the flow of how we're playing offensive football right now.
Thank you. We'll go over to Jeremy. Jeremy, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Jeremy.
You know, Stony Brook gives the team a chance to sort of reset. Is there anything offensively, at least, that we're going to see a little bit different against Stony Brook that we can look out for?
Well, I think first of all, we have to continue to stay the course with fundamentals and details and overall execution, and the discipline to execute down in and down out. And that's where we're struggling right now, is being 11 for 11. We're 8 out of 11, we're 9 out of 11, but we're right there. So I think the fundamentals and details of every single play, knowing why you're calling the play, what's the play caller's intent when you call a play, understanding situational football, all that. And then, you know, we have to start to get the ball in the hands of our playmakers. We have to do a better job that way as well, and be able to distribute the football, make the defense cover, you know, the entire portion of the field, whether it's vertically or horizontally. So those are all things that I think for us to continue to grow and develop, we need to take the next step there.
I'll go over to Logan.
Hey, Coach, a couple questions here. First off, just you mentioned JT being questionable. Just what are some of the difficulties there when it comes to game planning and maybe not knowing exactly who will be under center? And then two, just talking about the D-line play from this past Saturday, generate some pressure. There are a couple run plays that, Memphis really kind of struggled to get going. So just want to get your thoughts on the D-line play as well.
Yeah, I think really overall, if you look at really first quarter and a half, we dominated the lines of scrimmage and we weren't able to sustain. We weren't able to maintain that, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. In terms of the difficulty with not knowing who your quarterback is going to be, you're exactly right in terms of, we have to play to the skill sets of the quarterback. So again, we'll have a couple game plans and moving forward, and we'll see, and we'll progress that, we'll address that situation, how it progresses throughout the course of the week. But really the quarterback a lot of times is a byproduct of how everyone plays around them. And, when we talk about the ebbs and flows of the game, when you press play, for instance, we have second and long, we throw a curl route, he's wide open, great throw, we drop the football. So instead of having a first down, now we have third and long, and we don't run the appropriate depth of a route on a dig route. It's supposed to be 16 yards. We run 11, and we get undercut by a cover 2 corner and goes a pick 6. Well, first of all, if we would have executed the details of winning football and not dropped the football, we would have never been in that situation. That's where coaching, that's where everybody has to be responsible for everything. And so these are all the things that we're working towards. In terms of the defensive line, I thought they did some good things. I think what you saw is gap integrity. We kept our shoulders square. We always talk about square is strong. So we were able to do those things and maintain our gap integrity, and that gave them a hard time to really effectively run the ball consistently, really all night against us.
Yeah, I thought our team played great complementary football. Obviously, a little bit different having a league game that early, but being able to start the league going 1-0 was awesome, and I thought it was a great game. Obviously, Louisiana is a very good football team and extremely well coached, so we were happy to be able to get that win.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. We'll start off with Shawn. Shawn, please go ahead.
Coach, can you speak to how you saw your team during the weather delay? I know sometimes that can be difficult on a team waiting to get out to the field, but your squad obviously performed well in spite of that.
Well, I thought, first of all, I thought the administrations of both schools handled it really well. Instead of like going out there and then having to come back in, we just waited until we could go out there and go. So I thought that was, well executed across the board there. And then, I kept them updated, but for the most part, I tried to stay out of their hair, right? I mean, I think that me going in there and telling them, all right, 10 more minutes. Oh, never mind. Now it's 20 more minutes. Oh, never mind. Like that was only going to be a problem. So we just kind of gave them, maybe 2 updates the whole time. And then, just once it got to that moment, we were ready to roll and go from there.
How do you see it helping your team to have gone ahead and played a conference game to get a conference win under your belt in week 2?
Well, I think it was just, it's going to help our team that we were able to go out there, execute well, do our job, and get a win. And I think that was the biggest thing. Whether it would have been a conference opponent or not, is really inconsequential. But it is nice to be able to start 1-0 in conference and those sort of things. Obviously, we've got a great challenge ahead of us in Wake Forest, and getting them at home is going to be helpful as well. So the second of 3 consecutive home games. So obviously we needed to get a win there, and we had the opportunity to get that win, and we were able to close it out, which I think is another huge point for us.
Go over to Luke.
Hey, Coach, do you think Grant Wilson took a step forward? Obviously, the stat line looks a little better this week, but what did you see out of him from week 1 to week 2?
I thought he commanded the offense extremely well. I thought he took control, got us going to where we had great tempo the whole night. He didn't force anything. There were some times there where I think, he wanted to make a play or do something like that, and he just went 1-0 on each and every play and didn't do that. He just executed the offense, and we only threw it 19 times. We really didn't have that many plays. Louisiana did a nice job of controlling the football, so we didn't have that many plays on offense. So sometimes that can make a guy press, but he didn't press. He just kind of kept just executing the offense, and I think that's a huge step.
Go over to Sam.
Coach, somebody's really stood out both games thus far is Keyshawn Wicks. Can you talk a little bit about his performance, and obviously got a 100-yard game this week?
Yeah, I think it was another example of him staying patient. He didn't try to, sometimes when guys don't play a lot, they, early in their careers, when they finally get that opportunity, they grab the ball and just run, just go. And I think he's really stayed patient. He's made some good reads. Have all the reads been perfect? No, of course not. That's an unrealistic expectation. But I think he's done a nice job. He's made some guys miss at the second and third level to add to those runs. He's been ball secure. I thought he blocked better in this game than he did in the first game, which was a huge component to us being able to throw the ball down the field as well. So no, I was pleased with the way he played in this game.
Yeah, certainly happy to continue to get our team better with a win and coach through things and teach through things with a win. Thought we did some great things in the second half, in particular the game. We're able to establish a run, average 7.1 yards per carry to their 2.4 yards per carry. Really in 2 games now, done a good job defensively stopping the run. Think we've had some issues in some of our past defense. Week 1 gave up some explosive plays that are kind of uncharacteristic for us. This week, thought we did a lot better in that regard. Got to make sure that we do a good job of some of the perimeter game. And in fact, I thought our guys probably stayed over top of routes a little too much, and we're a little loose in some of the intermediate passing game that I think we'll work to get that cleaned up moving forward here. And very pleased with some of the explosive plays that we were able to create from our offense. 12 explosive plays. We actually took 7 shots and only hit on 2 of those shots. So to still create 12 explosives when our shots didn't hit is a real positive. The exciting thing is, eventually those shots are going to start hitting. Texas runs a very similar offense to us. A week ago against Rice, their shots weren't hitting. But they certainly connected this past Saturday, right? You look at those opportunities, you just got to keep throwing them.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Hunter Dawkins. Hunter?
Coach, good morning.
Hey.
I've got 2 questions for you. The first question would be, you kind of answered it a little bit, but at halftime, you guys had to make some adjustments, obviously being tied up. And I'm trying just to wonder what that actually was. Was it just offense or was it defensive adjustments? And the second question was between the kickers. I noticed that you had 2 different kickers, that converted extra points. I just want to hear what your take is on that. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah. The second question, we had Diego Guajardo's our starting kicker, but was a minute late to a lift on a Monday, and if a guy's late to anything, we're going to hold them accountable with game time. So a starter will sit out the first series of a game. A backup will sit out the first quarter. They miss class, they miss study hall, they miss a lift, a meeting, whatever it may be. We take game time, and so we don't have many of those issues. But even Diego, who is a guy that does pretty much everything right in our program, had a slip up, but the standard is a standard. And so we held him accountable. He was out for the first kick and then went right back in to do his job. The first question was adjustments that we made. Is that?
Yeah, it was about adjustments through halftime when the halftime was 7-7 tied up score.
Yeah. I thought 2 weeks in a row, Southeast Louisiana's had really good plans against us and Mississippi State. It was 10-7 at halftime against Mississippi State, 7-7 against us. They did a really good job of holding on to the ball, keeping long drives. They held the ball for 20 minutes. Some in large part, we were not able to get a rhythm going in the first half, in large part because they held the ball so long and we only got 4 drives, one of them being in a backed up scenario where we should have caught the ball on our punt return, but didn't. And so we got the ball on the 4-yard line. And instead of coming out with our opening drive plays, we had to come up with our backed up drive plays, right? And that's, a little bit different, not as aggressive as you want to be. Really tremendous adjustments as I think we've done over the years here. even year 1, 2, and certainly this year with halftime adjustments, Major Applewhite, Corey Batoon do a great job. Our staff does a great job with those things. Some of it was, hey, we just need to get the ball back and we need to, let some of these runs hit and some of this perimeter game hit. Very, very pleased with our run game after this past week. And then certainly I think we've done a great job in some of the perimeter explosive game that we've been able to create out of those perimeter throws. Defensively, just kind of locked in and did our job. We were able to do a much better job on 3rd down. We're able to create a little bit more pressure on the quarterback on 1st and 2nd down to get them into those 3rd down situations. And I thought that was primarily some of the adjustments you saw. Other than that, it was just, hey, stick to it and let the game plan work for you.
Go over to Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Coach, I missed a week, so I hope you don't make me have to sit out for a few plays. But can you talk about you were able to average about 6.5 yards a carry, like 3 different guys had a lot of success running the ball. Can you talk about where your running game is right now?
Yeah, I think it was 7.1 yards per carry, something like that. It was pretty good. We really I think we've got, that was a group of that running back room really has turned over on its head since we first got here 3 years ago in overall talent of the room and depth. We had Braylon McReynolds at the beginning of the season. This past week, he's had to have season-ending surgery. So he will not be with us for the rest of the year, or at least for the foreseeable future. We'll see what bowl game implications and all those things may lead to. But even with him out, you still, LaDamian Webb had a really great game the other day. LaDamian had been banged up in the offseason, had a surgery that he was recovering from, and so took limited reps in fall camp, has already become true to form in a very fast, rapid timeline. Kentrell Bullock has been, a home run for us in terms of getting him as a transfer from Ole Miss. And then Marco Lee, a guy that we got a year ago from Virginia Tech, has transformed his body to be an every down type player. And on top of that, I think he has done a really good job of just understanding what we're trying to do at a high level in terms of schematics. You saw PJ Martin in the game, a freshman from New Orleans that had a really tremendous senior season, is already starting to show himself as a future star. And so excited about, what that room brings to the table, and also need to point to how physical our O-line and tight ends have been blocking the first 2 weeks.
What do you see out of Oklahoma State so far? It looked like they sort of took a while to get going, but they got things going pretty good against Arizona State late in the ball game.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, they have been able to run the ball effectively at the end of a game, and it really has won them the game. They also had some critical stops on defense and some short yardage, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 scenarios where they were able to get stops as well at critical moments, as well as, a stop there in the red zone. So big football team. You can tell when they go through recruiting and all that stuff, they, mass length is a big piece of what they're trying to get done in terms of the frames that they want to recruit and develop. I think they've got 3 running backs that all do a really good job. They're different in their own right. One may have a little bit more juice. The other one's a little bit more power, but a good stable of backs. O-line is big. I think they do a good job of leaning on you, not overly aggressive. I wouldn't call them a knock you off the ball offensive line, but they just kind of lean on you and stay with you, and eventually try to wear you down in the 3rd, 4th quarter. And then, their perimeter game is just an extension of their run game. That's been, I think, probably Mike Gundy for a long time, them being able to throw the perimeter RPOs out there, take open grass windows. They did a really nice job of that, mixing in some tempo. And so we got to do a great job of kind of limiting their run game, but that also factors in their perimeter game as well.